Degrees of Celsus. One of Origen's most famous books is useful not only for its own arguments, but because it shows just what non-Christians thought of Christians. A Roman aristocrat called Celsus wrote a savage attack on Christianity, excerpts of which were preserved in a book called Contra Celsus by Origen, which rebuts the accusations. Celsus was a traditionalist. He loved the old gods of Rome, who had majesty and grandeur and who had been around a long time. The Christians' worship of an executed Palestinian workman was worse than stupid. It was vulgar, tasteless. Christianity, he wrote, attracted only those of low intelligence and with low social status, most often both. Celsus paints a picture of a church that is full of the silly and the mean and the stupid, with women and children. His social prejudice shows. But Origen does not dispute this. What he challenges is the idea that these people had nothing to offer. He focuses on the value of what those lowly people had found. By now, Christians were an easy group to target with accusations regarding all kinds of calumnies. They met before dawn, suspicious. They allowed men and women to mingle together, very suspicious. They shared in something called a love feast. That's it, they're perverts. Around 200, a North African Christian called Minucius Felix wrote a book called the Octavius, which is an argument between a pagan called Cecilius and a Christian called Octavius, with Minucius acting as the referee. Cecilius throws all kinds of accusations at Christians. They are an unlawful and dangerous faction which is leagued together by nightly meetings, a people skulking and shunning the light. And then he goes all Daily Mail on us, with lurid accounts of what the Christians get up to in their meetings. They know one another by secret marks and signs, insignia, and they love one another almost before they know one another. Everywhere also there is mingled among them a certain religion of lust, and they call one another promiscuously brothers and sisters. I hear that they adore the head of an ass, that basest of creatures. It gets worse. They're accused of killing and eating babies, drunken orgies where they tie a dog to a lampstand and then encourage it to pull over the light. The moment it goes dark, he alleges, in the shameless darkness, the connections of abominable lust involve them in the uncertainty of fate. Whew, blimey. Those all-age services in Carthage really were a bit wild. Top Mani. Christianity was attacked because it was growing, but it was not the only growing religion. There was an increased interest in the magical and the mystical across the empire, while long-established philosophies like Stoicism died a death, presumably stoically. In the 3rd century, several new religions appeared, or new expressions of old religions anyway. Manichaeism emerged in Parthia, a once powerful kingdom, outside the empire and situated in modern-day northeast Iran. Its originator, Mani, born around 2216, went on a Persian gap year, travelling as far as India, where he encountered what so many hippies have encountered down the centuries since: Buddhism, Hinduism, and dysentery. He merged that lot, apart from the dysentery, with Christianity to create Manichaeism, a dualistic religion that saw the cosmos as an unending struggle between good and evil. Mani called himself an apostle of Jesus Christ, and saw Jesus as judge, healer, teacher. But he rejected the idea that Jesus had a human body. He was definitely a spirit. Zoroastrianism, meanwhile, saw a revival. It was resurrected by Ardashir I, ruled 226 to 241, the founder of the Sassanid dynasty that took over Parthia. Zoroastrianism had been an ancient religion, but it had gone into a bit of a decline. Ardashir ordered that the special sacred fires be relit, an act celebrated by Dan Hartman's 1979 hit single, Relight My Fire. The cover version by Take That features Lulu, who is rumoured to be a Zoroastrian high priest. Or not. This revival later led to persecution of Christians. On Good Friday 344, the accounts tell of believers being forced to watch the execution of 100 Christian leaders before they themselves were killed. Thousands of Christians lost their lives in the Great Persecution between 339 and 348. Within the empire, meanwhile, Neoplatonism, or Plato 2.0, was the latest religious fashion. This was launched by a man called Plotinus, a contemporary of Origen. This promoted the idea of the supreme being. There were thousands of gods and goddesses in the Roman pantheon, but Plotinus suggested that there was one god to rule them all. He didn't do away with the other gods, but held that they were merely Platonic reflections of the ultimate one. Descriptions of Plotinus make it clear that he was the first identifiable dyslexic in history, so he never wrote much. The Edessa Files. By now, Christianity had spread east as well as west. It moved through Syria and then beyond to Edessa, a cosmopolitan trading city under the protection of the Romans, or the Parthians, or whoever was more powerful at that particular time. The church in Edessa claimed descent from the apostle Thaddeus, and who knows, they may be right. It's certainly possible. In Edessa, Christians found freedom. While Christians in the mighty Roman Empire, TM, were gathering in homes and shops and tenements, Christians in Edessa were able to build proper public church buildings. The earliest public church building in the world is recorded here. It was destroyed in a flood in 201. The Christians in Edessa were very hot on the interfaith thing. They are recorded as being on good terms with the Jews, even studying the Bible together. It was probably Abgar IX the Great who officially adopted Christianity around 222. But legends grew up about his ancestor, King Abgar V, who it was claimed had a correspondence with Jesus himself. There were even some forged letters. Jesus helpfully sent Abgar a picture of himself. This portrait later became the first of the miraculously imprinted cloth pictures of Jesus. It was known as the Towel of Edessa. The Greek word is mandilion, and it had impressive healing powers. Not only that, but if you draped the holy towel over your sun lounger, you were guaranteed a good tan. It later became linked with the Turin Shroud.